For a while now, I've been quietly considering stepping back from the day-to-day of hospitality, moving more fully into this, the coaching, the consultancy, the work of helping other founders navigate what I've navigated. I hadn't made the decision, I'd just been circling it, sitting with it, waiting, I suppose for the right moment to choose, and then the choice got taken out of my hands. Ojo Rojo has closed. The space we built it in was reclaimed by the landlord. 6 weeks notice and then the door shut for the final time. The decision I'd been circling for months got made for me before I could make it for myself. It felt like the universe leaned in for me and said, you weren't ever going to walk away from this, so I'm taking it from you. So now, just go. This video is about that. Not about the business failing, because it didn't fail, about what happens when something you built for over a decade ends on someone else's terms, what it does to who you are, and what it turns out you get to keep when the keys go back. Welcome to the Lead Well channel, where we explore the inner world of leadership, well-being, and what it means to build a business and a life that doesn't break you. My name's Trevor, and I built a multi-award-winning restaurant and cocktail bar from the ground up without any background in hospitality. I figured it out as I went along, and as of recently, that restaurant is closed. I'm not telling you that as a tragedy. I'm telling you because what I've learned in the weeks since the notice arrived is some of the most important learning of my entire journey. About identity, about endings, about what the years actually gave me that no landlord, no circumstance, no forced exit could ever take back. Everything this channel has ever been about got tested by this, and I want to talk honestly about what held, what didn't, and what I understand now that I couldn't have understood while the business was still open. Let me give you the facts plainly, because I don't want this to become a video about blame. When we moved from our original site, we moved into a building that housed a hotel, a club, and a bar. We took a small space at the back and ran it as a standalone restaurant and bar, and we did that under a license to trade rather than a lease. A single payment, no other bills, a simpler arrangement. And within that license, there was a clause, the kind that exists to protect everyone involved. That allowed us to leave or be removed under certain conditions. The person who owned the building was a friend of ours. We had a genuinely good relationship with him, but shortly after we moved, he had a health situation that meant he had to sell the lease of the building. It was bought by an individual who has a reputation, let's say, for not being the most pleasant person to deal with. Once we had things in order, he used the conditions of that license to give a 6-week notice to leave so that he could absorb the space into his own restaurant within the building. 6 weeks. Not enough time to find somewhere else, not enough time to recover the money we'd invested in the site. It left us without a home and without any real option to relocate. And I want to be clear about something. Ojo Rojo did not fail. It was a UK top 50 bar 3 years running. It won national awards for what we did with mezcal and tequila. It was, by every measure that matters, a success. It didn't close because it stopped working. It closed because someone else had the legal right to take the space back. Those are very different things, and holding on to that difference has mattered enormously to me over the last few weeks. When I knew it was definitely happening, the first feeling was disbelief, that straightforward, stunned, this can't actually be real disbelief. But underneath that was something far more complicated, and I want to be honest about it because I think that honesty is the most useful thing I can offer. There was anger, there was upset, there was panic about the practical reality of it, but intertwined with all of that was a degree of relief and even excitement, because I'd been considering this exit anyway. Part of me had already begun to let go before the notice arrived. So what I was left with was this strange, confusing tangle of grieving something while also feeling a door open behind it, mourning the loss of a thing that I had half decided to leave, feeling robbed of a decision that I hadn't quite made but had been moving toward. It was an emotional roller coaster, and I want to be straight with you that I'm still making sense of it now. This is not a video where I processed everything and arrived at a clean conclusion. I'm still in the middle of it. We only closed our doors a week ago, and I'm telling you what I've learned so far while I'm still learning it. And maybe that's the most useful version anyway, not the resolved version from years down the line, the honest version from inside the experience itself. The final few weeks were filled with love, and they reminded me of something I think a lot of us in hospitality forget under the weight of everything the industry asks of us. They reminded me why we do this in the first place. Because what we actually create underneath the food and the drink and the operations and the margins is environments, spaces where moments and memories happen. First dates, birthdays, anniversaries, celebrations, even weddings. Moments people carry with them for the rest of their lives. And we are the people who build the rooms where those moments take place. Too often in this industry, we only see the negatives, the bad reviews, the difficult feedback, the endless stream of problems that need solving. That's the daily texture of running a venue, and it can blind you to everything else. The last few weeks of Ojo Rojo showed me the other side, the love, the how much the place had meant to people. And after everything the years had taken, I needed that. I needed to see it. The stories came out the woodwork. People telling us of their first date with us years ago, their anniversary spent in our room. One couple had a first date in Ojo Rojo, got married, and then came back every single year from their anniversary. Even after they moved to Cornwall, they kept coming back. That's not a customer relationship. That's being woven into the fabric of people's lives. We served our last margarita, cooked our last taco, closed the doors for a final time. The energy in that final week was electric. The celebrations were intense. The love in the room was something I wasn't fully prepared for, and something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. And the day after we stopped trading, we held an event for the staff, a goodbye, and it was full of stories from people who just didn't work there but saw it as a family, a home. That's what hospitality actually is when it's done right. And those final weeks gave it back to me in a way the daily grind had slowly taken away. Before I go on, I want to mention the Lead Well community. It's a free space for hospitality founders where we have exactly these kinds of honest conversations. The link's in the description. It's completely free, so come and find us. Let's get back to the video. Here's the part that has been both the hardest and the most fascinating to deal with. For over a decade, Trevor and Ojo Rojo were fused. They were the same thing. I'm not sure a single conversation in all that time started any other way than, how's Rocky doing? The business was the headline of who I was. It sculpted me, it defined me, to a very real extent it made me. And now I'm coming out the other side of it, defining myself for the first time in over 10 years without it as a central pillar of who I am. It's a strange feeling, liberating in a way that I didn't expect. It's the first time in over a decade that a decision about myself, about my future, about what I want, hasn't had to consider Ojo Rojo as the main fact of the equation. And there's a freedom in that. And alongside the grief, there's something genuinely exciting about it. And this is where everything this channel has been about for the last few years gets tested in real time. Because I've spent video after video talking about the danger of fusing your identity with the business, about building a self that exists independently of the thing that you've created, about being a person as well as a founder. And then the business, the thing I was once completely fused with, was taken away, and I'm still here. Changed, processing, emotional, but fundamentally intact. I'm going to be honest with you about the framework, because I always am. In the practical sense, during those final weeks, it didn't hold. My morning routine, my non-negotiables, the rhythms that I'd built and talked about so often on this channel, a lot of them went out the window. And I let them because I wanted to be there. I wanted to be engulfed in the ending. I wanted to be fully present for the full close of it. And there was a volume of work that only my partner and I could do to wrap the whole thing up. My time specifically was needed. And I've always said that hospitality changes, and sometimes you have to step in and disregard the rhythms and the non-negotiables that you've set up. The whole point of them is that they're there to return to when you need them. They're not a prison, they're not a foundation. And during this time, I was needed, so I was there. It was tiring and it was difficult, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. But here's the thing, knowing everything I know now, having built everything I've built through this framework, I was prepared mentally to go through this without receding into the dark ways of before. That's where the work held, not in keeping my morning routine through a closure, in being able to walk through the loss of the thing that I'd been fused with for a decade and come out the other side as myself, rather than collapsing into a version of me that the dark years produced. The old version of me might not have survived this. This version can. That's not the framework failing, that's the framework doing exactly what it was meant to do. When I look back at the years of Ojo Rojo now that it's closed, it would be easy to talk about the skills, the abilities, the things that I learned about running a business and leading a team and building something from nothing. But that's not the real inheritance. The real inheritance is the journey itself, the whole of it, including the worst of it. Those years were the most difficult of my life. There were times I was in a very dark place, and I wouldn't change any of it because those times created a need to pull myself out and reframe my entire life. And in doing that, I learned more about myself than any easier path could have taught me. I learned what people like me can bring to the table and what it can mean to everyone else. That's not a small thing. That's the thing. And everything that's come out of it, this channel, the coaching, the community, the framework, the book I'm writing, the speaking, all of it came from Ojo Rojo, the experience. And the closure doesn't diminish any of it. If anything, it clarifies it. It almost feels like a responsibility now. That if someone going through any of what I've been through can be helped, then I'm the one to do it. The closure has given me a chapter of my story, an ending that I can actually see, a way to make sense of it. I'm writing a book about founder first thinking, the idea that the founder is the foundation everything else is built on. And seeing the end of this chapter has clarified points I'd have struggled to make properly while it was all still going on. The ending didn't take the meaning, it just revealed it. So what comes next? I'll be honest with you, because honesty is the whole point of this channel. I'm not keen to get back into the practical day-to-day of hospitality. I feel that time for me has passed. The industry is on its knees right now, and there's a lot of people suffering in it. What I want to do is get out there and share what I've learned and what I've built in the hope that I can make other founders' lives easier and give them some perspective. Because here's what these years and this ending have clarified for me about why hospitality matters. People need it more than I think I ever fully gave credit for over the years. They need the people who are prepared to endure this industry to keep building those safe spaces, the environments that mean so much to so many people. Not just places to drink and relax, but places where people meet their life partners, celebrate their families, spend quality time with the people that they love. And the founder who creates a space like that often doesn't see the financial reward for doing it, but the passion and the love it brings to the world is important, it matters. And I want to help the people who chose that path get the most out of it without it costing them everything else in the process. If you're a founder going through your own version of this right now, a closure, a forced ending, something taken from you that was built with your own two hands, I want to share the most useful thing that I've landed on in these last few weeks. The thing people keep saying to me over and over again was, everything happens for a reason. And part of me hated hearing it. It can feel hollow when you're in the middle of that loss, but part of me also understood it, because we need endings to have new beginnings. And sometimes those endings have to be forced, otherwise we'd never take them ourselves. We hold on too long, we circle the decision without making it, and occasionally life makes it for us. Think of it as stepping stones. When you're standing on a stepping stone, all you can do is concentrate on balancing and looking for the next one. You can't see the path. You can't see where it's leading. It's only later when you look back that you understand what needed to happen and why. So have faith. Look for the next stepping stone. Make the leap when the time is right. And one day, when you're further along, look back and appreciate the path you took to get there, including the stones that you didn't choose to step on. The landlord took the building, but Ojo Rojo was never a building. We proved that when we moved from our first site to our second. It was never the bricks. It was the experience, the values, the people, the food, the drink, the ethos, the thing that lived in me and the team rather than in the walls. It's been called a bar, a restaurant, a family, an institution, a landmark, but for me, it was always a home. It was a part of my identity, and it always will be. The keys went back, but what they couldn't take went with me. The journey, the lessons, the version of myself those years built, the framework, the perspective, the responsibility to use all of it to help the people still in the thick of what I've come through. That's the foundation of everything that comes next. And it turns out it was never in the building at all. It was in me the whole time. It just took the building going for me to see that clearly. If you enjoyed this video and my husky voice today, feel free to give it a like and a subscribe. It helps me, it helps the channel, and it helps people like us find the content that really matters. And as always, I'd love to remind you that you matter too. Don't forget that.